of a nucleocapsid. Coronaviruses in particular have an envelope with envelope spikes, and the name, it comes from them looking like, oh man, somebody's coughing, huh? So it makes it look like a crown. So from the Italian corona, meaning crown or halo. Let's see. Like they're really, really tiny. I don't know if you guys had heard that they're measured in nanometers. Bacteria are usually measured in micrometers. The smallest bacteria are called mycoplasma. They don't have a cell wall, and that is the smallest bacteria are about the same size as the largest viruses. So, I already mentioned about the nucleic acid can be either DNA or RNA. Let's see. So, like I said, they get their name from their structure. Coronaviruses do. They generally cause respiratory tract infections, which are generally mild, including the common cold. As of right now, we don't have any vaccines or antiviral drugs to prevent or treat human coronavirus infections. So, I don't know if you guys had heard me say this before, but I had clarified before that SARS-CoV-2 was the name of the virus. That's the name of the virus. COVID-19 is the name of the disease that the virus causes. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Let's go over some structural stuff specifically relating to SARS-CoV-2. So it's like other coronaviruses. It's an enveloped, positive sense, single-stranded RNA virus. So I want to break this down for you guys so you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about when I say that. So viruses can be either naked or enveloped. Envelope viruses, they're more susceptible to environmental conditions. You would think that they weren't. Yeah, they're naked, right? Don't look. So, um, like I said, envelope viruses, they're more susceptible. You would think it's the opposite because they're covered up by something. But because their envelope is made up of phospholipids, it's pretty easy to lyse or dissolve or rupture. And once that envelope is lysed, they lose those spikes, and they lose their they lose the ability to infect host cells. So that's funny. You guys are funny, but yeah, once that envelope is lysed, the virus loses its functional receptors and can't infect host cells. Uh, those receptors are used as part of the viral replication process, which is made up of 6 stages. I'm going to break them down pretty basically here. So the first, we have adsorption. That's where the virus binds to a specific molecule on the host cell. SARS-CoV-2, it binds to ACE2 receptors on type 2 pneumocytes, and those are the cells responsible for the production and secretion of a substance known as surfactant. So, surfactant is the substance that basically allows the lungs to more easily expand. It reduces surface tension. The next step after that, we have entry. So that's where the virus enters the cell, obviously, right? And it does that through its envelope spikes. So it undergoes a process known as endocytosis. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already heard of that. It's the virus is engulfed by the cell and enclosed in either a vacuole or a vesicle, where enzymes then dissolve the envelope and the capsid. Next, we have uncoating. That's where the nucleic acid is released from the capsid. That happens after the enzymes dissolve the capsid in the entry process. Doobie, you're just a flu person.
Well, okay,
What
it
an
should
asshole.
happen. Should happen. So,
What a jackass, right, guys?
look, I feel like if I got it, it'd be just a flu. Okay, not one to
Uh,
be baited.
let's see. Okay, so I was on encoding. Okay, next up we have macromolecular synthesis. So that's where viral components are produced. So this is where I said positive sense single-stranded RNA. I'm going to tell you guys what that means now. So positive sense single-strand RNA. That means, whew, sorry, my acid reflux is acting up because I'm old. So single-stranded RNA, positive sense. That means that it can act as mRNA and be immediately translated into proteins by ribosomes. I don't know if you guys know the whole translation, transcription stuff from biology. It's probably a while ago for some of you guys, unless you're studying it. Um, So basically, it just allows it to replicate faster because the positive sense single-strand RNA can already act as mRNA. Whereas if it was negatively sensed, it would have to then be transcribed to positive sense, and then used as mRNA for translation. Did I say MRA? I'm sorry. mRNA. So next we move on to assembly. So now we have all the different viral components, right? Then in assembly, it's going to take them on, put them all together and form little viroids. Those are the completed viral structures, a whole virus structure. Then we have release. So then the assembled viruses are released. This happens through exocytosis with coronaviruses. This is where the nucleocapsid will bind to the membrane and it kind of pinches off and sheds the virus gradually. So if you guys kind of think about it, I don't even know how I would describe it. It's like if you got up underneath your blanket and the blanket just kind of wrapped itself around you and just moved around like that. So that's how I would describe it. Anyway, so now that we have that's the 6 stages of the viral replication process. Glad I was able to describe those to you guys. So let's talk about some other stuff. How does this virus spread? It spreads by droplets. It's not airborne. I understand why a lot of people would think that aerosolized droplets would make it airborne, but it's not. So what it means is, like, let's say somebody's infected and they sneeze. If you breathe in those droplets, and you can become infected, but it's not going to necessarily stick around in the air for days at a time, especially not outdoors. But I'm going to get into that later. So, like I said, it's spread by droplets. It's not airborne. I just wanted to get you guys that distinction really quickly. So, due to its envelope nature, it can remain in indoor areas where someone has sneezed for a few hours. It's called, some people call it germ hang time. It just depends where you trained and stuff like that. It can stay indoors in that general vicinity in the air for maybe 3 hours maximum. Um, Outdoors, it's easier to get sick in the winter. A lot of people probably notice that because the air is drier, so droplets can hang around longer. It's not really an issue outdoors. The sun's UV rays act as a disinfectant, so you really wouldn't have to worry too much outdoors unless somebody sneezes in front of you or something, or if you're into that sneezing in your mouth thing, to make sure they're clean. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing I was gonna go talk about is it can live on surfaces from about 6 hours to maybe 3 days in optimum conditions indoors. It's envelope, so it's not as big of an issue outdoors. Like I said, envelope viruses are more susceptible to the environment because the envelope is more easy to lyse. Now let's go over some real basic biostats stuff. Okay, so the attack rate or ratio, I'm going to talk about what this is. This is the number of new cases in the population at risk divided by the number of persons at risk in the population. So for this specific virus, it'll be around 30 to 40%. Let's go over a little quick timeline of, I'm sure you guys have kept up with it or you wouldn't be here, of how far this has progressed. So the first case was around November, but the WHO wasn't notified until December 31st of 2019. From there, the first US case was confirmed January 15th, 2020. The WHO declared a pandemic March 11th, 2020, and the national emergency was declared the day after, the 12th of March, 2020. The incubation period for this virus is around 4 to 14 days, and that's the time period between you being exposed to it and you developing clinical symptoms. Next, let's move on to what those symptoms might be. Okay, so 65 to 80% of patients are going to present with a cough. 45% are going to be febrile on presentation, 85% during illness. Febrile means they're showing symptoms of fever. And 20 to 40% of patients are going to present with dyspnea, which is difficulty breathing. 15% are going to present with URI symptoms such as congestion, runny nose, scratchy throat, sneezing, difficulty swallowing. And URI stands for upper respiratory infection. I'm sure you guys know that, though. Oh man, I've gotten tagged a few times. Let me go check that out.
Don't let them distract you.
Sorry.
They're like monkeys at the zoo. Okay, they're just
Yeah,
throwing
I
shit.
know those filthy
Smart.
animals. I love them. Okay, so let's move on to whatever I was going to say next. Okay, so I talked about that 15% of patients are going to present with upper respiratory infection symptoms such as congestion, runny nose, scratchy throat, sneezing, difficulty swallowing, etc. Um, then 10% of patients are going to present with GI symptoms that can be anything from diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, abdominal discomfort. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess some of those people who stocked up on hundreds of rolls of toilet paper might even put them to good use. Let's move on to a prognosis. So this is it's kind of hard to talk about, right? Because this is relatively new. But age and comorbidities such as diabetes mellitus, COPD, cardiovascular disease, they're significant predictors of poor clinical outcome. That's with anything, though, right? If you have underlying chronic disease, you're just generally at a more unhealthy baseline than other people. So other complications that we kind of have to look out for, those include secondary nosocomial infections. So nosocomial infections are hospital acquired. That's if somebody's in the hospital on a ventilator. Well, not on a ventilator. That's a kind of protected state. But if somebody's in the hospital and they're really sick, they're going to be immunocompromised. They might have a risk of developing a secondary infection. Let's talk next. What can you do? So you guys know what you can do, but being the internet people you are, I'm guessing none of you shower. So I'm gonna tell you guys to practice good hygiene. Gonna you're gonna wash your hands for 20 seconds or more with either soap and water, which is more effective, or you can use an ethyl alcohol containing sanitizer. Just take regular showers. Uh, what is going on in there, man? Discussion. No pooping in the streets. Yeah, I mean, unless that's your thing, I'm not gonna stop you. Might look at you funny. Um, See, or you can use ethyl alcohol containing sanitizer. I'm pretty sure I said that already. Let's see. Stay hydrated. That's just a general good tip. Drink water, guys. Not a Code Red Mountain Dew.
So I have a question. Um, how serious do you think it is right now? Like, should people actually be like out buying 1,000 rolls of toilet paper? Like, for example, I went to the grocery store. Well, I tried to go to the grocery store yesterday. Like day before yesterday, on the way home from work, right?
Yeah.
And the line was like wrapped around the store, and there was a guy. Like, I wish I was joking. He had a shopping cart that looked like it was just full of bologna, and like assorted like meats and cheeses. Just like not even in bags, right? Just like the shopping cart was just like full of it. Like I don't know why anybody would eat that much bologna like ever. Um,
Bologna.
are we at that like that level, like where you should just go out and just buy everything in the store because they're going to start producing food,
No,
or
no, I don't think
like
it's.
what's going on?
I don't think it's necessary to panic buy. I think people should take it seriously and just act like responsible citizens, right? Just make sure you try to stay socially distant as you can, avoid going to crowded bars and clubs and all that stuff. Wash your hands regularly. But I don't think there's really a reason to go out and buy 1,000 rolls of toilet paper. At least not now. Maybe not ever. Is this deadly for most people? I saw that question. No, it's not. But you should watch out for. You should make sure that you don't get infected, so you don't infect your loved ones who are more at risk to get infected. But disease doesn't discriminate. Um, it could infect younger people and send them to. Oh man, sorry about that. I got disconnected.
It's okay.
I don't want to die. I'm too young. I don't want to die either, man.
So is this something that really like we should only worry about for like old people? Because it
Um,
doesn't seem like the fatality rate or whatever you call it is very high for young people, right? So is this like a boomer, right? The boomer side kind of where you know
um,
the Bernie Sanders was losing, and now the coronavirus has come around, and just remove the boomers for us, and Bernie Sanders can take the presidency. So what I'm getting at is do you think this is like a commie like fucking biological weapon that they're using to take out the establishment?
No, I don't think that, but I do think it should be taken seriously. You know, any disease is really nothing to play with. Um, the fatality, the mortality rate, like you said, is relatively low. It's around 3.73 to 4%. I don't know, man. I haven't kept up with the stats today, and they're kind of unreliable for as early as it is with all the non-testing going on. But it's way higher for the numbers that we do have. It is way higher for people 70 or older. It's 8% for them.
Oh,
Somebody really wanted me to answer their question, so I'm gonna do that. Let's see. Should schools and work areas stay closed until a vaccine is made and they're not able to control the spread? Um, I don't know if they should stay closed until mid 2021. I don't think that long. I just think that they should be closed for. I couldn't even give like a specific time probably. Once the people in charge of tracking all this kind of said that we've reached that peak and we have more people recovering than people being infected. At that point, I think it's safe to send people back to school and stuff like that. But I don't know how long that'll be. Do you think shops and stores will start closing down? I'm worried about productivity. I don't know. I think that some places should. I think Ohio actually just closed all its bars and restaurants starting at 9 p.m. tonight. Um, And I think we'll see more of that happening as more and more cases prop up, but I don't think it'll be a long term thing.
okay. So Wes, someone has a question for you. Is it okay if I unmute him so he can talk to you directly, really quickly?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Nocturnal, go.
Hello, doctor. So my mother, she has a disease and she takes immunosuppressing medication.
Drug? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so she basically has like zero immune system. And uh, I've been doing some research. I've been looking to see like how this particularly affects people, that take the same medication because it's not like something special, and I haven't really been able to find something. Would you have any
Yeah.
insight?
It depends. Is it just you two guys like in the house or are there more people?
It's my mom, her spouse, and then my little brother.
Okay, yeah. So you guys just kind of have to exercise caution around her. If you guys should probably, if you can, try to stay in as much as you can, all of you guys, so you guys
Yeah,
don't
well,
risk
for the
going
next
out
two
and bringing
weeks.
something back.
I assume you live in Maryland. Your Tally has MD.
Oh no, no, that's like my degree.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the county I live in is schools shut down, and they are both staying in. Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah, yeah, it's a really great first step. That's something you can control how much you go out for things. If you really do need to go out for something, just make sure you wash your hands, sanitize, all that stuff, disinfect surfaces in your house. But yeah, as long as you exercise caution and you try to keep her indoors specifically as much as you can, um, and then if you do have to go out, exercise proper caution and stuff. I believe that would be ideal.
okay. And then, do you know how helpful the N93 masks are? Like, actually?
You in N95?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
So yeah, those are what we use. So they're like fitted to your face, and those are pretty useful. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, because we all have them, and I think I'm gonna start wearing them when I go out.
yeah. I think that's like a nationwide shortage right now.
Yeah, we got them early before, like, when it all started kicking off.
Yeah, yeah. That's really good. I'm glad you do. Yeah, that's a good thing to have. Good thing to have around.
Alright, well, thanks for your time.
Okay.
No
Thank you. So,
problem.
so now it's a question. Question is, there are reported cases of people who were considered recovered but then tested positive again weeks later. What is the most likely cause for this, and should we be concerned?
See, that's something that I was reading about yesterday, and what I had read as of yesterday was that the cases of reinfection had actually been debunked. So I'm not quite sure what to say about that. I think I'll refrain from making a statement just because I personally don't know enough to kind of either confirm or kind of know the situation surrounding reinfection right now.
Next question is Okay, I guess I mean we have a couple people ask, well, the same person asking twice, if it's true that COVID-19 can live and steal for 40.
Um, I don't know. I actually hadn't heard about that, so I don't know. I don't know. I have to look into that. I hadn't heard that before. Maybe I don't know. That actually doesn't sound right. I don't know what would make steel special. I don't know. Sorry, man. What is the best way to stay calm during these troubling times? That's one thing. I know. I don't know if you guys have heard of this guy named Dr. Mike. He's a pretty famous family physician in the New York area. Always says the thing: "Stay alert, not anxious." That's a really good way to go about things. Try to filter out all the misinformation that you can, and realize that in a few months we'll probably be back to normal. Just exercise caution and look out for you and your loved ones. Don't go panic buying things. Trust those that it's hard to say. It's hard to say that, but do trust those who are in positions of power right now, and trust that they will eventually make the right choices and lead us down a path of recovery as quickly as we can. How many lives are estimated to be lost during this? So that's something I read in an article a few days ago talking about it could potentially infect 70 to 150 million Americans. And, with those numbers, you could expect a few million Americans to pass away from the virus. I think it was somewhere between 3 to 7 million or something, 3 to 10.
Oh,
As the USA tests more efficiently, should we expect the death rate to go up or down? Um, I don't know. I really don't know how that would change the data because I don't know. I really don't know. Sorry, guys. I know I say I don't know, but I'm never afraid to say I don't know. I'd rather tell you guys and be straight up and tell you I don't know the answer to something than feed you guys some bullshit. Because this is really, yeah, an important situation for a lot of people, especially those whose friends and family are at risk of being infected. The question about Chinese disinformation, I honestly can't say because I'm really not the expert on policy or anything like that. I'm guessing if they lied a lot about their numbers, that affects us quite a bit. But I really can't say with any kind of certainty.
okay. Um, Question from Atheist for the Cause. How do these new drive-through testing stations work?
I actually don't know how this new testing method they have. It's pretty quick. I don't know exactly how it works. I think it's a swab, but it's pretty efficient. They don't have to go the old way we were doing it was with PCR, which is polymerase chain reaction, and that takes a while. But I'm guessing they're doing a swab similar to a flu swab.
Okay. Next question is going to be from um, Ottoman Empire. What are other doctors? Your views? So she says, what are other doctors that you work with saying about the virus? And what is the medical community in general saying about how bad the virus is?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What are other doctors you work with saying about the virus? And what is the medical community in general saying about how bad this virus is?
Man, that's like a super broad range of opinions I could give right there. I talked to one guy. He's like this 60-year-old Harvard and Yale trained emergency physician. And he said disastrous economic impact, minimal medical influence, or something like that. It was really funny. But he's just a really rich guy who cares about the money he's got in the market right now. So, but and then there are some people who predict it. I think, generally speaking, we all kind of want to. I don't know if you guys have seen that, the flatten the curve thing, talking about basically more strictly enforcing social distancing so we can reduce the spread of the virus to make sure that how much the healthcare system can manage at one time, that it doesn't go above that we make sure that we have enough ICU beds for everybody at any given time. So I think we're we're taking some baby steps, but I think we can we can make sure that we don't get as bad as Italy. So we'll see.
Okay.
Can the evil
Ne-
weed that wants me to murder people die of the C19 virus? I don't
um,
know. Hopefully.
Seymour. It's a great film, by the way, and musical. So another question from Summer. Once you get the virus and you've recovered, do you produce antibodies against the virus, sort of like chickenpox? So when you're young, you should get the virus earlier than later.
Yeah. So that's with pretty much any virus. Yeah, you develop TMB lymphocytes, which will be specific to that virus. So those are the immune cells that are part of the specific, specific immunity. Sorry, got my words all jumbled up. But yeah, you will produce those whenever you're exposed to a new infection. I keep getting this one. Can the virus live outside the human body? When you say outside the human body, do you mean like on your skin? Like I don't know. What do you
Well,
say?
I think they mean like probably like
Like outside? Yeah. So I mentioned that before. So on surfaces, I don't know if you were around that early. Let me see. I believe that the most it can. Let me just look at this real quick so I don't make sure I don't give you a wrong answer on that. Give me 1 second. Okay, here it is. Yeah, so can hang around in the air after somebody sneezes or something for around 3 hours. And on surfaces, it can last from around 6 hours to max 3 days. There was a specific substrain that they found could live on surfaces for up to 9 days, but that's not really the one that's of major concern. And it really can't survive too long outdoors due to its envelope nature. It makes it more susceptible to environmental conditions. If the vaccine won't be produced until 2021, does that mean the virus will be around this whole year? A lot of people are predicting that eventually this virus is just going to be an endemic, which is kind of like the flu. It'll come in seasons and come in different strains and stuff like that. So we'll see. I really don't want to answer that, but we'll see what happens.
cool. Okay. Next question from Doughboy. Israel has supposedly created a vaccine that will be ready in a month. Have you heard about that?
I haven't. No, the one I heard about was in Canada. I hadn't heard about the Israeli one, so that's news to me.
So what do you know about like how those once they get like a vaccine and whoever gets it, what do you know about how those are rolled out? Is it like something you just like everybody's expected to show up and they get it for free, or would people need to pay for it? Like, do you know anything about how that works?
Sorry about that, guys. Give me 1 second. My wife called me. Let me text her.
It's okay. It's okay.
Boom, lying to my wife saying I'm on the phone with my mom. Who would have thunk it? All right. So what
Okay.
was that? Sorry about that.
Yeah, so what do you know about how vaccines are rolled out? So
I
like
don't,
once they get a vaccine, right? Whoever gets it, how does that just like does everybody get it for free? Does everybody just kind of show up somewhere and get the vaccine, or do they need to pay for it? Do they get it if they have insurance, and not if they don't? Like, how does that actually work with like a national emergency like this?
a national emergency like this. I don't know about vaccines specifically. I don't think with the current administration it will be free for everybody. The testing probably would because they just passed that with the national emergency going on. But the vaccine probably wouldn't be free for everybody. It does have to go through the FDA drug trial process, which comes in 4 phases. That's what makes it take a long time. I don't think actually kind of developing that first vaccine is what takes the longest amount of time. It's all the phases it has to go through and all the changes that have to happen with it to make it as effective as possible while minimizing side effects. That kind of makes it take a long time. That's why people are saying 18 months.
Okay. Next question is from Dr. Beck. Um, is coronavirus deadly to a 15-year-old male who doesn't have tonsils with mild asthma?
You know, I'm
This is
not
very
going to say
specific.
yes or no because I can't tell you that you will or won't die if you get it. I'm going to tell you that you are at you have a lesser risk of dying from it. You'll probably get mild symptoms. The asthma could be of concern, but honestly, I think if you were infected, you'd have a much better chance of having a positive clinical outcome compared to somebody who is older with multiple chronic comorbidities. So I think you would be okay. Can't tell you for sure, but I think you would be okay.
Okay. Next question is going to be from. Uh, let's go with this. Atheist wants to know if cats and dogs can get the coronavirus.
No, the WHO confirmed a few days ago that cats and dogs can't get it. It
Okay.
is zoonotic. It originated from either pangolins or bats, but I don't think they said cats and dogs can't get it.
Wait, so it actually might have come from bats? Is that like?
Yeah, bats and pangolins. That's why it's zoonotic in nature, as are most coronaviruses.
Oh, so I mean, does that mean there's some like truth to the the wet markets and people eating bats and whatnot, and that's how we got
Yeah,
the
I'm
coronavirus?
sure there's some truth to that.
I see. Um,
A lot of people are saying the biological weapon thing, like population control.
yeah.
I always think like this is a really shitty way of going about population control through a coronavirus. Like, could have used anthrax or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Or Ebola or something. I mean, yeah, it's probably not as infectious, not as probably kill more people. That's a shitty way to go about things. I'm sorry.
Next question is from
25-year-old obese male.
yeah, I'll read it out for everybody. So anti simp action wants to know what the what's the likely outcome for a 25-year-old obese male.
So you're I'm guessing this person. I'm not gonna say you. I don't know if that's you, but um, nice. But 25 years old. You're relatively young. Obese. It depends. Could you have undiagnosed diabetes and hypertension? Um, that could definitely affect your clinical outcome. But hypertension. Okay. And also, I don't know if you have any other cardiovascular disease or anything like that. But I would say at your age, you'd probably be okay. I'm not going to tell you for sure, but I think you would be okay for the most part. Unless you died, then you wouldn't be okay.
So next question is from me. What do you think like the about the response so far? Not just from like the media, the government, but from the public. Do you think people are taking it more seriously than they need to, or are they too slow to like understand the seriousness of this? Should people actually be staying home from work for a month? Like what do you think the what do you think of the reaction so far?
The reaction so far, it's weird because it's really split. It's either people seem to be taking it like it's the apocalypse, or people are traveling overseas and going to not even overseas to like Chicago and New York. It's where I live. The kids around here taking weekend trips around the country. So it's really split. I think there's definitely a middle ground there. Bleach and three pain. No,
Oh my.
but yeah. So I think people should be, like I said, they should be cautious, and they don't need to go out and panic buy a million rolls of toilet paper. I think that they should just try to be socially distant and enjoy hobbies inside the home. Like you guys like video games, right? You bunch of fucking nerds.
Okay, I've got another question from my little brother Poncho.
Little brother.
Poncho says, "What do you think of New York being at 80% surge capacity? And what have you heard about ICU beds being inadequate to meet surge capacity?"
I don't know. I heard there were only 600 ICU beds left in New York, which is pretty intense. But I really don't know. Like, I don't really understand the situation there at the moment. It's, I don't know it enough to comment on it, so to speak.
Well, what's the situation like in the hospital that you work in? Like, are
Where
you
I work,
guys have enough beds for people? Or
yeah. So it's really not bad here at all. We only have 14 confirmed cases in the county.
okay, that's not so bad.
It's not bad at all.
Um, so there's a question from Zarina. The question was, didn't they have coronavirus in the past? Why is this one such a big deal compared to the one?
Yeah, so we have had different coronaviruses in the past. We've had MERS and SARS, and like I said, the one that causes the common cold and stuff like that. But this coronavirus is different because it's more infectious. More people get sick with this one. It spreads easier. So with this one, around 3 to 4 people will be infected per person that an infected person comes in contact with. So SARS and MERS had much higher fatality rates, much higher mortality rates, but this one spreads easier. So more like uh, SARS was spread nowhere near as quickly as this virus is spreading. So the Spanish flu killed 50 to 80 million people. Man, the Spanish flu was so long ago, though. You know what I mean? They didn't have the medical technology, the knowledge of hygiene, so to speak, how to really avoid getting sick, how we do now. There wasn't also the way to kind of put out this information to everybody, so to speak.
Okay. Another question from Case. What do you think about the UK's strategy of isolating the elderly and allowing the virus to spread in order to promote herd immunity? Patrick Vallance, the government's chief scientific advisor, has said that it was desirable for around 60% of Britain's population to be infected with COVID 19 so that herd immunity can emerge in the population to protect the country in the long term.
That honestly sounds like a pretty good public response. I would be in favor of something like that happening here, but I think a lot of people see that as kind of infringing on their own personal liberties. I don't know if people would follow along with what the government tells them to do.
So you think like for young people in a way, like allowing young people to just like to get the virus, spread it, and kind of keeping elderly people off the streets for a while that's happening might be like a good strategy going forward for protect the country as a whole. Like that's a strategy you'd support.
Well, I honestly think ideally nobody would, just go out there and, uh, just kind of hang out around a whole bunch of other people. Ideally, we would just keep most people indoors and try to make sure that the minimum amount of people get infected as possible. But if people are going to go out, this probably makes more sense than just having everybody out there. If that makes sense.
Okay. Um, Next question. So XLR had a question actually. When you say people should like allowing people to get infected and develop herd immunity is like a good strategy, are you saying people should have like pox parties? Like get together, and if someone has the virus, they get together and they hang out and maybe eat
No,
out of the same chip
no,
bowl and spread it around.
no, they shouldn't. No, don't do that.
Okay. What do you think about the White House's response so far?
It's subpar. It's honestly a little bit embarrassing. I think we should have accepted the WHO's test kits. Um, I don't know, man. I'm pretty upset with the way this current administration has handled this pandemic, and hopefully we can move forward from this and just do the best we can what we have right now.
Do you think
What's
it? Do you think it was
that?
mishandled because it's conservatives and they just want to kill all the poor people?
No, no, I don't think that. I honestly can't tell you. I don't really know enough policy to tell you why it's been handled the way it is, but I don't like it.
Okay. Next question is from again my little brother Poncho. I'm going to unmute you so you can ask questions.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard about this. I was listening to Dr. Peter Attia's podcast earlier. Dr. What's his name? Dr. Hotitz from some national something. He talked about convalescent drug therapy, so taking like serum blood and their antigens or antibodies from the blood to deal with injecting that in other people. Like, do you think that that could be an efficacious strategy, like
Yeah.
implementing that nationwide? Because like that seems like you would need a lot of infected people to draw the serum from.
Yeah, you would, but I honestly don't know what to think because I don't know too much about it. I know it was used in 1918 and in
Right.
1934 during measles and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know about the logistics behind how this will be carried out on a mass scale. I think it's definitely something to look into, but I don't know enough about the logistics and how to make it as pragmatic as possible.
Mhm. Thanks.
Okay. Next question is from Morgan. Morgan, I'm gonna unmute you too, so you can ask your question. Morgan.
Yes?
Yeah, you can ask your question.
Hello, nice.
Okay.
First of all, nice. I have a bad condition with allergies and I develop a bronchitis. I'm with a bronchitis since January, final of January, very before the coronavirus arrived to Portugal. But this seems the bronchitis seems don't want to pass. I'm still with it, and I'm afraid to go to the doctor right now because we got a lot of cases now.
Yeah.
What should I do to deal with this at home?
So at home, what you can do is drink fluids, especially water. Avoid caffeine and alcohol. Rest as much as you can. Uh, Take over-the-counter pain relievers, so like acetaminophen, Tylenol, which is acetaminophen, ibuprofen, etc., to reduce inflammation and get that fever down. And then just try to wait it out. If you can, maybe try calling your physician's office. Maybe they can do a house call thing. I don't know how it works down there, but those are all ways you could go about getting better at home.
Okay, I just make 3 days I don't have any fever.
You haven't had a fever for 3 days, you said?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just and the cough is getting better, but I still have my legs and my legs are a bit how can I say swollen. Uh,
Your legs are swollen.
yeah, a bit.
I honestly think you should really call your primary care physician and talk to them
Yeah,
and
yeah.
see what you can do about getting seen somehow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. So Lou, I know you said you wanted to go for like 45 minutes to an hour. We're at like
Wait,
the 50 minute.
This guy said he doesn't trust me because I'm being shifty. It's only because I'm a quarter Jewish. He's saying that.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not any Jewish. I know you guys wouldn't
So
like me if I was. Let's see. I'm gonna answer a few more and then I'll
cool.
get out of here.
Awesome.
So yeah, this guy Mike will get it done. Yoda, what a name. Was it him that asked about exercise? Somebody asked about exercise. How much exercise you should be getting at home? Well, as much as you can. I know most people don't have like a home gym or anything, and you can't really like. I don't know. I guess you could, walk it. If you have a backyard, you can go on some laps and do some push-ups and stuff. Just try to get as much as you can. Try to be as active as you can in your home, within the confines of your home. As much as you can. Don't try to lay in bed the entire time you're in quarantine or self isolation. Don't try to lay on your couch, sit on your couch the whole time. Does jerking off count? If you do it vigorously enough, sure. You got to go real hard, man.
It's pretty degenerate.
Yeah, beat it like it owes you money, like Rocky in the freezer.
Oh my god. So do you think that so a lot of people are planning to just like stay for like the next couple weeks, basically. Do you think that's helpful? Like what's because like is that just like is this something you'd recommend in terms of like just waiting for a vaccine to come out, just hide out indoors, and when the vaccine comes out, you go out and get it and you're good, or is that like effective at all?
Yeah, it definitely is effective to practice social distancing because you just you lower your risk of getting infected and passing it on to other people at the very basic level. And I think if people were to do that for a while, we could see kind of a peak kind of flatten out, if that makes sense. It would probably last quite a bit longer. I'm sorry, I'm reading what Mike Will had said, but yeah, probably the pandemic probably lasts quite a bit longer, but it wouldn't be as bad. It wouldn't put as much of a strain on the healthcare system.
Okay. A couple questions from Atheists for the Cause. First, do you expect us to run out of antibiotics? The second question is, if we get put in these new government-run coronavirus positive, does the government pay for our living expenses, or how does that work?
I don't know about the second part, but as far as antibiotics go, the only reason we'd really be using them is for secondary infections for hospitalized patients. So, because we wouldn't be given any responsible prescriber shouldn't be giving antibiotics for any sort of viral infection. Okay, I'm gonna answer this guy. Can cow piss cure COVID-19 in India? They say it does. Yeah, man, drink as much as you can. What was I saying? Yeah. So we wouldn't really.
Okay. And Foxy wants to know if coronavirus is spreading faster than the common cold.
Yes, it is. It's the best way to put it. It's spreading pretty fast.
Okay. Let's see. Next question is going to be from.
I think this might have to be the last one.
Oh, okay. Well, then why don't we? So the last question. Why don't you just give like a quick like summary of what people can do to protect themselves?
Okay, yeah.
Prepare going.
So let me go over these notes I wrote down, put them to some use. What you guys can do, like I said, please practice good hygiene, gamers. Take showers.
No.
Please.
No.
Yeah, wash your hands. When you do wash your hands, wash them for 20 seconds or more with soap and water. That's more effective than using hand sanitizer. If you only have hand sanitizer, it's okay to use that. Yeah, man, wash your hands. You heard it 100 times. It works. That's why I'm telling it to you. I wouldn't be telling you if it wasn't working.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, stay hydrated, practice social distancing, take care of your loved ones, make sure you don't lick any eyeballs. You'll be okay. Let's work together. Let's get this thing worked out.
Thank you, Dr. Lou. We really appreciate you coming around, taking time out of your day to do this. Again, everybody, please thank Dr. Lou. Don't be a dick.
Thank
He's a
you
really
so
nice guy.
much, sir.
Hopefully, you guys aren't dicks when he comes and hangs out on the server more. Yeah, thanks, Lou. We'll talk
No
to you later.
problem. Anytime you guys enjoy, have a good day. See ya.
Fuck you, Poncho, you dumb bitch.
Suck my pee-pee.
I love Poncho. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you people. Eventually. You guys can hang out in here if you want. I need to go do some errands. Please don't kill each other. Thank you. Wait, is the Democrat debate tonight? Please don't tell me.
Fuck you, dude. Fuck you, dude.
There's no audience or anything.